What is art?
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 Is this art?
Well, that's definitely art. Is this art?
I don't know if that's art. Why did you draw it?
It doesn't matter. It's art. Is this art?
No, I don't think that's art.
This is art. Art. Art? 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 Art?
Okay, that might be art. Let's talk about art, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that art can be. Let's talk about art.
Woo! Encore. I think you should do that again and again and again.
I thought about that 3 weeks ago, and I was like, I'm gonna do it when I get a good mic. I have a mic now.
You do have a good mic.
I can sing.
Oh, wait for it. 13 of our subscribers. They're gonna love it.
Welcome, all 13 subscribers.
And if you're new to the channel, we especially welcome you. We'd love for you to click the subscribe button right below. Hint, hint, wink, wink.
What are we gonna talk about today, Noah?
Today, we're going to talk about what is art?
Very thought-provoking question.
Yeah. It's certainly a more complicated question than what isn't art. Or is it?
Well, I've got a history lesson for you.
All right.
Let's go back to 1917. This was during an art movement called Dada, which is also known as the anti-art movement. It kind of made me think of like hippies, but in 1915, because these anti-artists were blaming high society on the war. So this anti-artist by the name of Marcel Duchamp was in this Society of Independent Artists. And this society had made a constitution that they would accept all work by all members. So Marcel Duchamp comes up with this quote-unquote art that is just a manufactured urinal labeled a fountain. And he signed it and submitted it to the society. And they said, we will not accept this as art. It is by no means a work of art. And that it would be indecent to women. As a woman, I am very offended by urinals.
As you should. They're a symbol of the patriarchy.
You're probably so used to seeing them, but to me, they look so science fiction. Like, why do they flush if they're just for pee?
Men have been asking this since they added the flush feature.
Maybe it just needs a good rinse.
We don't know. But yeah, because men pee all over the thing. And you gotta clean the whole back wall. There's pee everywhere. You gotta clean the whole thing.
But anyways, this guy Marcel Duchamp, he wasn't like a shitty artist. I mean, he did this famous painting that most art students study called You Descending a Staircase.
I know the painting you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like he was a good artist, but he made this to question, what is art? And some people describe, he had this whole series called ready-made art, which was basically taking stuff that was already manufactured and presenting it as art. And he might change the name to be something artistic, like the fountain. But then some of them, he was just like bicycle wheel. And ready-made art is sort of defined as an ordinary object elevated to the dignity of artwork by the mere choice of the artist. And some people called this angry nihilism.
Hmm.
So that's in 1917. Let's go forward about 100 years to 2019, and you've probably seen this like being memed, but an artist by the name of,
Oh
butcher
wait,
this.
is this gonna be the banana on the wall?
Yes, yes,
Oh my
yes, yes.
god!
The artist Maurizio Catalan, in an art piece entitled "The Comedian," duct taped a banana to the wall. Now, Noah, I want you to, and listeners, I want you to guess how much this sold for.
I am not going to guess, but I am going to make a different guess, and my guess is that this money, whatever the exuberant amount, I'm guessing tens of thousands of dollars, if not more, it is for sure money laundering money. There is no way it's legitimate. There's no way it's legitimate money. And
Okay, well, I'll explain it. But when you buy concept art, you're buying the rights
to the videos and the
to the
exhibition.
instructions to set up the artwork. So with
So
conceptual
tape
art,
banana on wall.
yeah, basically you bought that. You bought the rights to tape the banana on the wall and mark it as done by the artist, Maurizio Catalan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what I'm saying is they're laundering money. Because
I don't
where are
know
they
about
going to
that.
exhibit it? Everyone's seen the exhibit. I saw it on Facebook. I don't need to
Yeah.
see it. It was literally as thrilling on Facebook as it ever will be in real life.
Just please throw me out a wild guess.
Okay. $50,000.
It was $120,000. But
Yep.
he
Of
sold
laundered money.
he sold 3 of them. So the first 2 he sold for $120,000. The third one he sold for $150,000, and I believe he sold 2 more for $150,000. It provoked debate on the internet, but it is said that he did this to call out the absurdly inflated art market and the narrow sliver of the privileged population that gets to participate.
By doing the exact... What did he do with that money?
I have no idea. He's probably doing more art. But I just thought this was such a good parallel because he also made an artwork that was a solid gold toilet called America.
Well, I see who he's inspired by.
I know must have been very inspired by Duchamp.
What the only thing that bugs me about this piece is that the statement he made means nothing if he's just...
It seems very hypocritical. I thought it
Yeah,
seemed very hypocritical.
it's just it's a showcase in hypocrisy. That's why I asked, what did he do with the money? If he like donated it to arts programs in low income areas that don't have access to that, or if he... And I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm getting on my high horse, but like, yeah, it sounds entirely hypocritical.
It is a little bit hypocritical, but if we're separating the art from the artist, instinctually, for all of these works I just mentioned, do you think that these are art?
I am going to answer that by posing another question. If a monkey taped a banana on the wall, would you consider that art? Because the majority of art critics would not, because it's not done by a human.
Well, if a human trained the monkey to do that, then that could be art. It really,
But it's the human's art,
yeah, it's the
right?
human's
Because
art.
he trained the monkey.
I don't think animals are capable of the same amount of like abstract thoughts.
I think it depends on the animal, and I think that there's evidence to suggest that that's correct.
If the monkey is doing it with like artistic purpose,
It's intention, right?
yeah,
Intention is what art kind of falls behind intention.
yes.
If you are not purposefully doing something, then it is not art. But I don't know if that's true.
Yes, I believe
Yep.
the intention is very much a factor.
What is your definition of art?
My definition of art is the dictionary definition of art combined with a question. So, expression or application of human creative skill and imagination. And then the question I ask is, does it bring perspective?
Interesting.
What about you? What do you go by? Because I know that in the conversations we've had previously, what you consider art has a much broader range than what I consider art.
And usually I'm a very dictionary kind of guy, but I would probably do the dictionary definition but exclude human. I just think it's really, I don't want to say pretentious, dismissive. It's dismissive for humans to be like, oh, it can only be art if it's by us. I mean, what if there's an alien society out there just as advanced as we are? I'm certain that they have art. If an alien, all right, listen, I pose you this question.
We'll change the
If an
definition.
alien comes down,
Dude, I did not think that you were gonna be focused on the word human because I did not even think about the word human being in there. I literally like thought about every single other word except for the word human.
it's the only one I don't agree with. Think about this. If an alien flew down in a UFO to your house and you went outside and you were like, oh my God, there's a freaking alien. And he came up to you and he said, hello, I am from a far off planet. Look at this painting I did. And you were like, well, that's not art.
I would
Yeah,
say,
fuck you, alien. That's
alien.
not art. And then he'd cry and he'd go tell his dad
No,
and he'd
I
vaporize
don't
the
disagree with
planet.
you.
I just think it's very arrogant. That's the word I was looking for.
I do not
Arrogant.
disagree with you. But I don't think when they were writing the definition that they were like thinking about what you're
Well,
thinking
but it
about.
also excludes all animals, and we are animals. So
Okay, so let's just take away the word human. Now, what do you think?
that's pretty good. Pretty good. It's a
Right.
pretty good definition.
I would like to note that the man Duchamp, who made the fountain, also made an art piece of Mona Lisa. It was an exact copy of Mona Lisa, the goatee. And its name is in French, but it translates to "she's got a hot ass."
Are memes art? I'd say so. Because that's a meme and that's art. Is it just art because he painted it?
I guess it kind of is a meme.
So, all right, what about there's this Italian artist, Piero Manzoni, and he's famous for canning his own shit and selling it as artist's shit. And he sold it for its weight in gold. Is that art? Certainly the can's art. Certainly the design on the can is art. But is his actual feces art?
So conceptual art is very interesting because it's like the concept is more artistic than the actual thing itself. Its matter is maybe not necessarily art because I don't think design is art. I think,
Oh, I see. I think design is art for sure.
let me get this straight. I believe that there is like a big Venn diagram with a few circles. So there's art, there's design, there's arts and crafts, and some of these overlap. It's a little bit blurry. For the most part, they're separate.
If I could get on board with that, I'd say the opposite. I'd say if most of them they intersect with art at least.
Yeah, I think that's where we're different.
So think about like font. We'll go very basic. Font can impact the meaning of the actual text, what's actually being said, immensely. And a lot of thought and design and artistic skill goes into the design of specific fonts. Go back to calligraphy. I mean, calligraphy is for sure art. Do you not think calligraphy is art?
Oh,
How can you
I
not?
don't.
Why? But why?
Is good handwriting art?
The expression or application of human, we'll even say human for this. I don't think any chickens can do good calligraphy, of creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form such as painting or sculpting, but visual form is the same thing. Producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty. Calligraphy is all about beauty and emotional power. I think it hits all those. I think it hits everything in the definition. What was your amendment?
I don't think calligraphy is creative or imaginative because let's look back to, I don't know what time period, but everybody used to know calligraphy. And I mean, I don't know if that's 100% historically accurate, but it's beautiful and I think it takes a lot of skill. It's artistic, but I don't think it is art.
I think you're minimizing calligraphy because calligraphy is a lot more than just the ability to write the letters in a fancy way. Because you're using spacing, you're using especially when you're looking at like a big piece of calligraphy, something that's not just writing a word. And
It's true.
even in that calligraphy, a lot of calligraphy that I see, especially on Instagram, there's some great artists that they'll do a word and then they'll use calligraphy, but they'll add other artistic embellishments, right, of their own style and stuff. It'll be like the word rose and it'll be calligraphy and then they'll shape it into a rose or whatever like that. I
Yeah.
think you're
And what I'm
minimizing.
saying is, no. It can be art. It is not necessarily not art. It can be art. It is not art in itself. Like if you just write a word calligraphically, if you write it in calligraphy, I don't think that's, but it can be art. If I say something is not art, I am not lowering it in any way. If I say something is art, I'm not raising it in any way. It is just a categorization. A kid's shitty drawing is art. But if somebody's, designing something and it's beautiful, like if you shui a room,
Yes.
I think that you put a lot more work into it and it looks a lot better than the kid's happy drawing.
But that's also
I don't
art.
think feng shui is an art.
It is an art. Okay, well, all right.
Okay, it is an art, but I don't think it is art. That makes any
I
sense.
am not grasping what you're saying. I want to go back to calligraphy though, because calligraphy
Okay.
by definition is a visual art.
It is an art. I don't think that.
You're gonna have to
Here's where
help me.
it gets-
You're gonna have to help me understand what you mean. What is the difference between an art form and art?
Yes, like painting
Is an art form.
is an art form.
A painting is art.
Calligraphy, yes, exactly.
So
Calligraphy is an art form. Something written in calligraphy is not necessarily art.
that's where I think you're wrong, because something written in calligraphy by definition is art. It might not be good art. It might be bad art.
That's where we're different because
it
can be good, but my question is, does it bring perspective?
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's what I go by,
So-
and I don't think that it does.
Okay, so you're saying that no typeface, no way text has been written has ever impacted your interpretation of what the text said?
Yes, it does. And in that case, is art.
So in order for there to be artistic calligraphy, all calligraphy has to be artistic. I mean, it has to be art.
I think what I'm thinking of is those people who just write random shit with pretty letters. You know what I'm talking about, like those videos on Instagram of the people just like writing random words pretty. And I'm like, that's not art. That's not bringing a new perspective. That's not creative. That's not imaginative. But if you do something in calligraphy that is creative and imaginative, then that is art. But a lot of people think just because they wrote something in calligraphy that that makes it art, and I disagree.
I think we're just gonna have to agree to disagree on this one.
Yeah, no, exactly. I am not expecting to have any conclusions
I-
out of this conversation in any way.
No, totally.
I just like to discuss this.
No, and I totally get what you're saying. So coming from, I'm an actor. So I could say this about a lot of videos that I see being made, where like a lot of video-based art can be something very simple. Time-lapse art is art, especially people doing like, you look at like flower time lapses in documentaries, and it's like, of course that's art. But then you see people reusing the same viral video of like, ooh, we're going to grow a pepper in an eggshell, and doing the same thing over again. It doesn't feel like art. But at the end of the day, every time that they make the video, whether they're replicating the same thing or not, they have to put artistic input along the way. I guess I just have a hard time gatekeeping art. I think that
I do too.
because I think
and
a
I
lot
hate
of
doing
and
it.
because I think a lot of artists can fall into the trap of being like, oh, well, I'm better than you, so I can decide what art is. And as you were talking about earlier, a lot of these artists in kind of revolutionary times within art, they were like, dude, the establishment is keeping me down and they're telling me that what I'm doing isn't art, and that's some bullshit. And they can't decide what art is. Art is its own thing. And so
They had the creative skill and imagination to go out and push those barriers. So I like functional gatekeeping to a point where it makes it so that what is art is not necessarily good. It falls into what I consider to be the definition, so as not to lower it to the level of stuff that is not creative or imaginative. I don't know if that made sense.
it makes sense. I'm just conflicted about. I'm conflicted about
I'm
like.
conflicted about it too because I'm wrong a lot of the time. I might say something is not art. I might be totally wrong. So it's hard to make the decision of like what is art and what is not art because then if you're wrong then you're an asshole. So
Yeah, but as we talked about in the last one, a lot of artists are assholes.
it's hard to gatekeep and like I'm conflicted about it, but to a point I think that it needs to be done a little bit.
I mean, I think my big issue is I don't think gatekeeping will ever stop so-called not art, I don't think that
Yeah.
you're still going to see the viral videos of someone saying Twitter and drawing Twitter in pretty handwriting or whatever it is. That's always going to be there because it gets clicks. But the reason it gets clicks is it's appealing visually because it's a visual art.
It's pretty. I don't think that copying something that already exists is art. Is fan art? Because I know you and I disagree about this.
Yeah, I think for sure fan art is art. It is called fan art. I find it hard to argue with that.
But I'm gonna.
Now, do I think stealing art is art? No.
I think a lot of fan art is stealing. I don't consider fan art that I do to be art because I am literally stealing images from movies.
I don't think that using an image is stealing it.
No, I don't think that using an image is stealing it. But I think copying an image is stealing it.
So what constitutes copying an image?
The Lighthouse fan art where I drew Robert Pattinson.
Hmm.
I stole that image from the movie and just put it in a different style.
You drew it in a different style. But there's a huge difference between stealing someone's art. So, say someone draws a picture, and then you take that picture and you post it and you say, I drew this picture. That's way different than taking an image from a film or recreating a photograph or using, I don't know, any combination of things to then create a different work of art. I mean, art, so like, would you consider a collage art where you're mashing up a bunch of different pictures? They didn't take those pictures, but because they're
They are
applying
creating something new out of them. Which now I sound like an idiot.
which is what you're doing by adding all of those lines, by adding the color, by adding your own artistic flair to it, you are creating a new image.
With a collage, you tend to be like saying something. With my fan art, I'm not saying anything.
You're saying you like the art enough that you want to add your own artistic input on top of it. Yes, you are saying something. In fact, you're saying a great deal about the original art. And it would be different if you were like, hey guys, I created this awesome thing called Watchtower. And or even worse, you're like, this is Robert Pattinson. I made him up. You didn't do that. But if you took a screenshot of the movie and then posted on your Instagram, that's not art.
No, it's not.
But that's not what you did. You took the movie, the still that you wanted to recreate from the movie, and you recreated it in your own style. That is art.
Is it imaginative?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, because you put your own imagination into it. I mean, you can't because
I think I'm
look,
changing my mind. I don't know. I'm okay with it being art now.
yay! Well, because what I'm going to say is, you were putting creative input into all those lines and things you did. I mean, those didn't come out of nowhere. And even if they felt like they came out of nowhere, art often does, because that's how art manifests in artists.
Yeah. Guess what is not art and also fan art is when people copy characters exactly.
So yeah, if you take a
even if it took a lot of skill to do so.
Yeah, I think if you like took a still from, let's just say like a cartoon, you take a screenshot from a cartoon and then you just trace over the lines, I don't think that's art.
Yeah.
But I could see someone tracing over the lines and then coloring it in a way that made it art.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about manipulating it in some
But
way.
I don't think directly copying is art.
This also plays into our fan art discussion. So people will feed scripts into AI, then the AI will come out with a whole new script for the show, and it doesn't really make any sense. But it's still a script, and it sort of makes sense. Like, they'll be like, I fed my computer 7 Harry Potter books, and it shit out a new Harry Potter book, and it's hilarious. I mean, they're probably mostly fake, but probably at least a few of them are real.
So I would say no. I would say the script itself is not art, but the person sharing the script is doing a concept art. Yeah, it
The
is.
whole thing is conceptual art. The human feeding it.
I don't think the script that the computer shit out is art. I think the sharing of that idea is art. The sharing and accomplishment of that idea is art, right? It's concept art.
I agree with that, because I was conflicted about that.
That's where I fall. Hey, if you guys disagree, let us know in the comments below.
Yeah, shit all over us. We didn't talk about this while we were talking about font. Hieroglyphics.
I think they are art.
Egyptian hieroglyphs were the formal writing system used in ancient Egypt. Hieroglyphs combined logographics, syllabic and alphabetic elements with a total of some 1,000 distinct characters. Okay, it sounds a lot like Mandarin. Are Mandarin characters art?
Kinda. I think characters are art. Are runes art?
I don't think we could consider hieroglyphics art or Chinese lettering art if we do not consider the English alphabet art.
I consider that art.
Now I'm conflicted. The creation of it was art, like it evolved through history.
Yeah.
But is it in our current time art in and of itself?
It goes just directly into fonts, which we've already discussed.
No, I don't think it goes directly into fonts.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so. Because
Fonts are just the way to write the letters.
yes, like the fonts are like, okay, these letters already exist. This is what they look like. We can change them a little bit to convey subtly different meanings. But the actual alphabet itself is like the creation of the letters, the sounds that go behind them, what they sound like
Yeah,
when they're
it's the
put together.
root of the art of literature. Art, yes. That's how I feel. Yeah, it's the root, therefore, yes, it is art.
I think so too, because that is super imaginative.
It's about the most imaginative thing I can think of, honestly. I never in a million years would have come up with that shit. Had somebody not given me the alphabet, I don't think there's any scenario I could see myself inventing an alphabet. No way.
Did not in a million years think we'd be talking about the alphabet.
I know. Look at me now, kindergarten teacher.
We should do a whole video on contemporary art because a lot of people are like, fuck that, that's not art.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, me and you both think that contemporary minimalist paintings are art.
For sure. In fact, I have a great appreciation for the record, yes, art.
Yes, it is. And people who don't think it's art, I think it comes from a place of just not knowing enough about it to appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, is it making you think? Art,
Makes me think.
right? And if it's not making you think, then think about it. If you take a little bit of time to just be like, okay, I'm not just going to shit on it. Let me look at it and actually give it the attention that the artist wanted. You'll probably be like, huh, this is art. Go back to Pollock. They look at Pollock and they're like, that's not art. He's just slapping things down. And it's like, no, it's definitely art. And especially if you listen to the philosophy behind it, it's like, yeah, that gives it even more artistic meaning. You look at Mark Rothko, paints those squares, right? People would be like, that's not art. He's just painting squares. But it takes an immense amount of thought to paint those squares. And I saw them at the Tate in London, the actual Red Museum or Red exhibit.
Went to London.
Yeah, I went to London when I was in college for a study abroad. And yeah, we got a day off and we went to the Tate, and you can see the soul of the painting. You can see how much depth this man put into those squares. And I mean, I could have spent the entire day there.
Such a huge difference between seeing art in person versus seeing art on the internet. And do you ever see something on the internet, an art piece through the screen, or a picture in a textbook, and you just don't get it
You can't get the weight.
until you see it in person? Guernica, see it and it's like, yeah, it's a good painting, but it's enormous and you could never get the full breadth of its meaning until you're standing in front of it, looking at it in person. Not that I have. I'm hoping to one day.
I don't feel any weight when I look at paintings online.
We live in a day where art is like insanely accessible, but yes, it is completely accessible and we can get it through Instagram and we can get it through wherever we want. But I think a lot of people do not understand the difference between the setting that you're in when you're viewing this art. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, setting is important because I think setting oftentimes falls into the artist's intent. We'll step back to talking about Mark Rothko and the way that he got to the point he did not want his paintings viewed in a way that he didn't want them viewed. It is so important to the piece, though, that that's true. It's essential to the life of those paintings.
Yeah, and I think as I'm trying to become an artist, I tend to forget that there's a setting outside of the internet.
Well, I just want to interrupt and say you are an artist. I think it's important in becoming an artist that you accept you are an artist, whether you're a professional artist or not.
Yeah.
I think that's what you meant, is you really want to be, a professional
Yeah,
artist.
professional.
But you are an artist no matter what at the end of the day. And that's for everyone listening to this out there. That's an important thing to accept. Your art is valid whether you're making money on it or not. Capitalization does not equal art.
Yeah, I guess it's hard to do it. In order to be a full-time artist, you have to be making money off of it.
Oh yeah.
You can't starve.
You can starve. It's just really not fun.
I've been trying to adapt my art style to be more Instagram friendly because I see that as a more viable career option. I'm more people will see it on the internet, then I'll get more commissions, which will get me more money. But that's a short term making money in the short run. Whereas as an artist, I would like to see my stuff in a gallery, but the two art styles that I would use are completely different. And so I'm just trying to adapt how I can converge the two settings so that I can make money doing more what is considered traditionally fine art and my cutesy little Instagram art. Not that one is more or less valid.
So I think this is something that I learned in acting. In order to do that kind of ritzy, I can be the artist I want to be, you kind of got to make a name for yourself doing art that makes a name for you. You got to do art that will get people's attention and will supply you with the opportunity to make the art that you want in the future. And I mean, that's not to say that you shouldn't make the art that you want now. You should, but especially if you're looking commercially, you got to build a reputation first.
You have to make crowd pleasing, like what you're talking about. Either Duchamp didn't just debut with the fountain.
While he might not have debuted with it, I think we can all agree that he's always been bananas. And on that note, I think we should end for the day.
I think we've spent enough time discussing what is art.
Yeah, if you guys still have questions about what is art, or if you have any suggestions for videos you might like to see in the future, please comment below.
We've also linked both of our Instagrams to descriptions, so if you're interested in checking out more of our art, please do that. Thank you for watching.
Thanks. Please come again. Thanks. No. Cut all that shit out.
Okay.
Thanks. See you in the next video.